Hey, it's Rob from the Bob Sphere, and it's another monthly wrap up. I read quite a few books. The jar was unusually kind to me and picked a lot of thin ones. Well, yeah, weird. I had 6 DNFs. Then I've got the review copies, and I've got the backlisted pod books. Uh, it was quite a month. Quite a month. Lots of good stuff, lots of bad stuff. So let's start. So here's Akhil Sharma's debut novel, An Obedient Father. I like the second one a lot, and I forget the name completely. It escapes me. I keep on thinking it's Family Life. I don't know, and I'm not going to edit and put it on the screen. I can't. So, um, so this is about. Well, this bad, by the way. Terrible. This is about a corrupt government official, or lackey, really, to be more honest, who has certain tendencies. Let's put it that way towards children. But we'll leave it at that. Right, this book tries to be shocking, and it is actually very shocking in places, but then there's political blah blah blah, and it's extremely boring. So it doesn't work out. So nah, give it a miss. Next, Kolosia Homana, Everything Sticks to Us by Francesco Grec. These are poetry and pose combos, and the liner drawings are by Daniel Sant. It's very good. These are very personal poems, and you can tell there's a lot of feeling in them. That's what I like. I'm not an expert on poetry, but I do know what I like. I do like something like this. Next, my book of the month, Christy Mallory's Own Double Entry. This is from the one of the books discussed in the backlisted podcast. I'm trying to read them all. At the moment, there are 172, and I'm trying to read them all in order. This is number 6, if I'm not mistaken. So I just started. This is brilliant. It's an experimental novel from the 1970s. It's about this accountant who decides to take over, get his revenge on society through the double entry bookkeeping. That's when you mention your debits and your credits so everything balances out. So if someone does something evil to him, he has his revenge. He has to pay the debt. So, Snickers. You have to be a little bit patient. Okay. So it's a light experimental, I'd call it. It's very fun, very playful. It's very funny as well. It just flows. Oh, tremendous time reading this. So definitely recommended. Read this if you're daunted by experimental books. Don't be when they're like this. Next, Delorean. Oh, this beautiful mess by Missouri Williams. How can you? How can you describe this? This is kind of like some post-apocalyptic place in Prague where everyone's overweight and there's interbreeding, and the only entertainment is this monk called Saint Thomas Aquinas. Well, not. I think it's not the actual saint. Um, and he acts as a kind of like a more Povich character, except more positive. I guess it shows that he's the light in this dark, dark world. Then one day, this family think that another family is going to attack, and they put the main one, Dolores, as the dummy, and it's just war. War shows the evil of human beings, how we're set on destruction. The prose is quite dense, actually. This is something I admired more than I enjoyed. I'm still thinking about it, so that's a good thing. It hasn't left my mind, but I can't say I fully embraced it. That's all I can say about it, really. It's very interesting, and there's tons of ideas here. Yeah. Okay, since I have tons of Fitzcarraldos which I haven't read, it's inevitable that at least I get one or two a month. This time I got The Other Name, Septology 1 and 2 by Jon Fosse. We all know the third part, or actually Septology 6. You can see I got right over there. A New Name is on the the International Booker Shortlist. But I work by the jar. I thought this year, even with my prize list, I won't disrupt everything. I'll just work using the jar. That's it. So, except for the Booker. Then the Booker I'll chuck everything aside and I'll work on it. So who knows what will come up? Probably will be 10 years before I read a new name. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, yes, it's got the it's about this painter who has a doppelganger with the same name. The painter is recently widowed, while the doppelganger is twice divorced. And it's not really a plot novel, it's more about themes. So the big theme here is grief. There's lots of little actions which happen. I mean, going to and fro from towns, helping, going to a hospital, taking care of a dog, meeting ex-lovers, meeting unknown lovers, and it's so beautiful. It's like a painting. It just keeps on growing and growing, and with each brushstroke or sentence, well, it's actually one sentence. It's a one-sentence novel. The way it develops, you just get a full picture. Now we have part one and part two here. There are reoccurring motifs, but it's not unreadable. It's not tiring. It just embraces you, and it's very tender. Especially there's one section where he goes to a park and imagines himself and his wife, and oh my god, it just pulled my heartstrings. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, this is another backlisted one. Nancy Mitford, The Blessing. This is about this woman who breaks her engagement so she can marry a Frenchman, and he takes her to Paris, and it's a comedy of manners because she doesn't cope. She can't stand his philandering ways, and she goes back to England. But the blessing is her child. So he's the link between the two people. It started off brilliantly, that I will say. Excellently. Then around halfway through, I started getting tired. It got a bit repetitive. Nancy Mitford is, well, she's got quite a sharp tongue, I'll say that. She is funny. She is funny. Would I read more? I am not sure. But I'm glad. I've always wanted to read Nancy Mitford. I've heard a lot about her. Now it's done. Thanks to Backlisted. Next up, Utisbach Messir, Oh to be Born a Father. This is pleasant. It's just memories and philosophical musings about fatherhood. I'm not a father. Don't have any children. It's okay. It's okay. That's all I can say. It's fine. Totally fine. Nothing more, nothing less. Sheepshaker by Neil Griffiths. This has been on my TBR for ages, over 10 years. Finally got around, the jar chose it, so I read it. And I was in the mood to read it, because I DNF a lot, if it doesn't grab me by 50 pages. This is brilliant. When it's in dialect, I do like books in dialect. I'm a big fan of them. It's about this delinquent called Ianto, and he commits a shocking act, and his friends kind of discuss the events that lead to this act. So it's told in non-chronological order. It's really good. It kept me hooked. I'll tell you that. Neil Griffiths is compared to Irvine Welsh. There are some similarities. Let's say they talk about drug culture, raves, and everything's in dialect, but it's a bit more different. It's, should I say, more panoramic? Yeah. I mean, sort of semi-unreliable narrators. No, it's good. It's good. I think it's out of print now, so I have fun hunting it. Okay, one author I won't say I have troubles with, but I could not. No, not. Should I say it? I struggled a lot to read Infinite Jest. It's one of those few books which I can say defeated me. It's the only book which has defeated me, because I really want to read it, but sometimes I can't go through it. I always stop at page 300. So I was wondering how his short fiction is like. I read his debut novel and I really enjoyed that. But I kept on saying, probably he's better at short fiction. And I was right. So, Brief Interviews with Hideous Men is a short story collection. And it's really good. I gotta say I enjoyed the majority of these stories. They have a sense of humor. It's still experimental, but it's not tiring. Sometimes there's novels you can tire, even in Broom of the System. Here it's just concise. That's good. Or it's divided into different parts. For example, with Brief Interviews with Hideous Men, I think it's in 4 parts and spread throughout the whole book. It's quite funny. Another one from Backlisted. It Had to Be You by David Nobbs. It's out of print, but it was very easy to find a used copy. Good old WOB, WOB, World of Books. This is a comedy of manners. This is a man whose wife dies in a car accident. And he's actually happy because then he can continue his affair he has with a lady. Well, a lady. His affair. This was written that time, you know. And he finds out it's not exactly the most desirable thing. Love can prevail even in death. It is quite funny. There are some very funny bits. If you mix Snickers, if you mix highbrow and lowbrow humor, you can. It really works out well. This does. What will it take for me to leave? This is by Lorraine Vella. This is off the Pressbar Press. It's their second book. Pressbar Press are run by, Maltese, and I think another one who's half English and half Maltese. And their aim is to bring translations of Maltese literature to the wider public. Their anthology was really good, and this is excellent as well. This is more like vignettes, and then there are pictures in between. Let's see if we can find one which connects with the. Oh, no. Yeah. See, like this, and then there'll be a story about time. Very enjoyable. I did like the way it was structured. Yeah, it's good. More poems. There are quite a few poems this month. This is Speed of Life. Oh, did I? Oh, by the way, because I have to do translations, right? So, this was translated by Damien Searles. This is translated by Kat Storace. And I think that's the only other. Yeah, it's the only other translation. So this is Speed of Life by Michael Strunge, and it's translated by Paul Russell Garrett. And it's a poetry book. Strunge was one of Denmark's foremost poets. But he had bipolar. He was bipolar, and then I wouldn't say committed suicide. That's the wrong way to say it. He had a fit, and he did something he was unconscious of doing. He jumped out of a building. It's all written here. It's really good. These are poets. There's a bit of a punk attitude. They're very tender. There's a lot of love in it, but yet there's some anger. It's very fresh though, and they're very vibrant. There's just glow like that. Recommended. And it's from Nordisk Books, an indie press. They gave me another thing. Conceptual short story collection about office life, and I like that. So, 40 Lost Years by Rosa Marie Archambault, translated by Peter Bush. This was first written in 1971, and finally in 2021 it has seen, because this is last year, seen the light of day. It's been translated, and I'll tell you, it's a cult classic. It's about the Spanish Civil War, and I'll tell you, at times I thought it was a dystopia, all the horrors that are happening. Shh, Snickers. Can you be a bit patient? Just a bit. Come. Snickers. What? Okay. Shh. Just a little bit. Okay. And it's a feminist novel about the seamstress who survives this awful civil war and, stays true to her beliefs. Very flowing, very well translated. So another one of my highlights, Ghost of Spring by Luis Carrasco. It's about a homeless girl and how she survives in a city. It's her day-to-day dealings. Doesn't seem like much, but trust me, it's pack an emotional punch. Epic Press are doing great things. They're on a roll, and this definitely does not diminish them. That role. Excellent. Another poetry book, Metatlat L'Adam by Elena Cardona. Another one. This is this one I left when I left Adam. So you can guess these are poems about womanhood, and they're divided into different sections using certain pronouns, and there's elements of not superstition. There's a lot of religion in it. There's a lot about womanhood. These are very good. This is a new voice, and you can tell, This one's striving to be heard. I think it works. Another old one, but this was not from Backlisted. This is The Gates of Eden. And this is an interesting one. This was written in 1946, but it came out. Um, Wait, because I've got a jumble of words and I have to straighten them. Okay, so this was written in 1946, but published in 1986, many years after Hemingway died. And it's if you thought that Hemingway was about a macho writer, think again. This is brilliant. No, half brilliant. I'll be honest. Um, I would say it's a trans rights novel. It's about this married couple, and the woman does not want to be a woman anymore. She wants to be a boy, and this causes a rift in this couple's marriage. And the more she becomes masculine, the more her husband starts disliking her. Then things become worse when a woman enters, and both the wife and the husband start an affair, and they bounce between her. Now, it starts off excellently. It's a bit like the other novel I was talking about. But then it gets boring because it's constantly yo-yoing. You go over and over and over, going with this one, then going with that one, then going with this one, then going with that one. Had he been alive, I am sure that Hemingway would have edited a bit more. Don't forget this is a posthumous novel, so other people tinkered with it. But there is Hemingway's voice. I can say that the short sentences, the um, no nonsense, of his prose. No nonsense stance of his prose. I read this because there's a publisher. Well, the Jar picked it, but I bought this because there's a publisher called Weatherglass, and they will be in July. They will be writing a novel. One of their authors will be writing a novel that's sort of based on this. I want to know the background. Haruki Murakami. Murakami has not impressed me lately. I like his novels, but his short stories for me are just blah. This is a short story collection. It's okay. Some bits are like his old style. There's some semi autobiographical one about baseball. Not goodness. The last poetry collection, Maltese. This is Buda. It's actually good. Whoops. Okay, so this is a big pack. Last month, no, 2 months ago now, because in March, there was an exhibition with poems, music, and photos, along with poetry readings. I was lucky to attend one of them, all based on the color white. Buda means whiteness in Maltese. And I mean, this is a package. I'm not going to open it because it's difficult to put together. But there's a poster in here. There's 37 pamphlets. You can see 37 pamphlets about poems about white by one poet with contributions from other major local ones. It's quite a work of art, and there's a QR code which leads to a 27-minute album, and then there's photos as well. So the photographers Giola Cassar, Liana did the poems, and Ken Sacco did the music. So it's 3 disciplines, and the outcome is excellent. So I was really happy about that. We're going nearly into the 20-minute mark. A Lover's Discourse by Xiaolo Guo. I like Xiaolo Guo a lot, one of my favorite authors. And this is based off a Barth book, of Roland Barthes' book of the same name. I've never read it, so I don't know. But it's typical of Xiaolo Guo. About a foreigner who tries to understand the language and the ways of the country. But language features a lot. There's language as in the type we talk. There's the language of art and the language of architecture. Shh, snakes. 2 more books left. Highly recommended. Another highlight of the month. But she can do no wrong. These are a series of musical essays. The 33 and a third B-sides. Not worth it. And last, which was actually the first book I read this month, was Crime by Irvine Welsh. I've read nearly all. Now I just have 2 books left, Reheated Cabbage and Skeg Boys. This is a sort of sequel to Filth. It stars one of the policemen there. And it's disappointing. There are some good moments, but lots of weak ones. It's not one I would really recommend. Again, it's a subject I don't really like about child abuse. You know, yeah. I would say read this if you're a fan, and that's all. Okay, we went to the 20-minute mark. That was my April. How was yours? Already, May is not starting out that well because I had my first DNF and it was a chunkster, so we'll have to see what's next. We'll see. Okay. Bye and see you next month.